Welcome to the after party. Welcome to the after party. Did you bring some snacks and treats?
Yes, it did.
I hope you got me something to eat.
Maybe.
Welcome to the after party. Coming to the after party.
Right now.
I've been waiting here all day to act like a fool this way. Welcome to the after party. Join us in the after party.
Right now.
Oh, chocolate and dabbing, maybe some microphone dabbing at the after party.
With DJ Eric Page.
Hello, everyone. The weird thing about that intro is because we're getting rid of it after this season of Superman and Lois, but the weird thing about that is going back and seeing like all the different places that we've had our setups at. Like I know the name changes and stuff are funny, but like just the backgrounds are so different from each space. Like it goes all the way back to like my garage when I first started streaming there, all the way up to where we are now in this space. So it's pretty funny. Anyway, speaking of that, I told Paige I'm going to go over this before we get started because I keep forgetting to do it at the end of the stream. We talked about it on Twitch, but what's going to happen with this season of the After Party, the 6.0, 6.5, which is combined together, is it will end with Superman and Lois, which is next week is the finale. So that Saturday will be the last after party of this season. And then we're going to redo it, the 7.0 after party. It's going to be vastly different from other seasons before. And the reason why is because we don't have any shows for the rest of the year. And we don't know when Superman and Lois is coming back. So putting it on...
Definitely not till next year, won't we?
Yeah. So because of that, we are going to take a week off from the official after party streams, and we're going to figure out what we're going to do with the stream like later on. Hey Boba, if you want to jump on and join us, you can. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but you're welcome to jump on.
Honestly, it sounds like you are, Eric. It sounds like you might be putting Boba on the spot.
He might be in bed with
exactly, which would be putting him on the spot, the pressure, everything like that.
Yeah. Anyway, we need to get Boba on. We're going to talk about the Flash movie after this weekend because holy
doodle.
Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk a little bit about that in the stream here, but we're going to do a whole stream dedicated to that. What might have went down with the Flash after this weekend. So anyway, but yeah, so we're going to take a break. So after next week, Superman and Lois, there'll be a Saturday with no after party. And I will probably do a stream with some sort of topic, maybe earlier than the normal after party. But it won't be like an official after party. It'll just be a stream. And then we're going to figure out what we're going to do after that. So it will be changing, but don't worry. The podcast is going to continue to go on. We're just working out some kinks in it to figure out what we're going to do during the downtime. Because if you guys don't remember, the COVID era after party was insane. It was quite a moment in time.
But to be fair, I think that was outside circumstances affecting why that was insane. Hashtag Eric's mate, ready for sure.
Anyway, so yeah, we'll figure it all out, but do not worry, there'll be a week off of the after party in a week from this week. So we'll have Superman and Lois. And actually, when we talk about the finale for Superman and Lois, we'll probably talk about the whole season and then whatever the finale cliffhanger is, what that might mean for season 4. So we'll see. But speaking of Superman and Lois, we're going to start out the stream talking about this week's episode, which was Injustice. It was the penultimate episode. And we finally got introduced officially to the Lex Luthor, Michael Cudlett's Lex Luthor for the show. And that was kind of the main focus. There was other stuff happening, but that really was like the main storyline, was just getting to know his Lex Luthor. So I guess we'll start there. And I talked about a little bit in my review. His Lex Luthor to me is not like, how do I put this? It doesn't remind me of any Lex Luthor I've ever seen before. before now. And I mean, that's okay. That's fine. But it's a very different take on Lex Luthor. And I felt it was very Kingpin-ish. What did you think of this version of Lex Luthor?
Well, it sounds like one that's pretty pissed off about being in jail for almost 2 decades, I want to say, for something that he didn't do. Because I don't know, like Lex would be like, okay, I did the crime, I got caught. You know, you do the crime, you do the time. Mm-hmm. But he didn't do this particular crime, so he's obviously got the shits about it. So yeah, I don't mind like how there's a bit of a different interpretation because of that.
Yeah. I have to say there was some extra artistic shit happening in the episode when we had him walking from prison to the house there.
I was wondering if the Proclaimers were going to start playing.
I've heard some mixed reactions to that. What are your thoughts on that? I've heard people say it's a little bit try hard. I don't know if that would be
what was try hard.
Like trying to drill in like how serious this Lex is by making him walk from prison to the Kent's house. They just thought it was a little bit overly dramatic. I don't know. How did you feel about it?
I didn't mind it. I thought it was cool that like while she was walking, the storm was getting bigger. Like it was getting darker and darker above him with the storm. And then once he's literally just outside of Smallville, that tornado happens.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was pretty cool.
So you like the dichotomy of all of that being put together?
Yeah. Like I didn't even notice it until like just before. I was like, God, it's getting dark above him. And then the tornado happened. It's like, oh, well, it must have. And then I sort of scrolled back through and it was like getting darker and darker each time we went back to him as he was walking.
Yeah. No, I thought it was okay, but I know a lot of people thought it was overly dramatic, just for the purpose of drama.
It's TV, Eric. You have to be dramatic.
I know.
Class as a drama.
I don't know. Drama can go too far sometimes and make, like, we've seen it like the Snyderverse. There's some drama that just went a little bit too far.
Is that within the film or outside the film? Which drama are you pointing at?
Your pick, both.
No, okay, both. Flip of the coin.
But you know what? I have to say, I am curious. Well, I'm happy that we're getting another season, because I would have been really pissed off if they would have introduced this really different Lex and then we got him for 2 episodes and we never saw him again.
Yeah,
that would be really annoying. I'd be really, really, really annoyed with that. So the fact that we're getting this Lex in season 4 is awesome. How much of this do you think we're going to cover in the finale? Because we don't have a lot of time left, and we know that there is a plan in place. We'll talk about that in a second. But do you think we're really going to get to know this Lex in this finale, or is it we're really going to have to wait till season 4 to like learn more about him? Because I feel like we don't have a lot of time left to sort of.
No, well, I think that's the whole point. I think the whole point is to make you want to learn more about him, and that's where season 4 comes in. So it makes you, you know, I'm just more interested to see what he does in the finale, because even then, like, I mean, there's still got to be, like, we know that, like, I guess Superman's fighting whatever that Bizarro thing was or whatever it is. So, like, well, I'd assume that's what it is, that Superman's versing. Maybe he's versing 2 things. I don't know. So that's going to happen. So obviously, like, Lex isn't going to be the focus because it's still got to be. But I'm intrigued to see what he does throughout the episode, which sets up next season. And also, I think we should get a pretty big indication by this finale what's happening next season, like logistical wise. I think maybe whether we're going to be in Metropolis more, if not full time or whatever. But that'll be
a lot of people have been saying that they weren't sure if this move to Metropolis was because of the budget cut. I think this was in the plans the whole time. I feel like this season to me is leading towards Metropolis.
I think one of the big issues I had when we're going into the show, back in season 1, I was like, okay, it's based in Smallville. It's just going to be one of those things where everything coincidentally, all this action just happens in Smallville. And when you look at the 2 seasons, that's been the case. So I think actually to keep the show's quality up and not make people question and label it, I think it actually makes sense to move out of Smallville. And that's mainly because of what happened in the first 2 seasons. Because all that action really took place.
You know what else kind of like I don't know. I want to say it bugged me, but something that they didn't think about was, if you are Superman and you're in Smallville and all of this dangerous stuff keeps coming after you in Smallville and people are getting hurt in Smallville, wouldn't you want to leave the small town and move somewhere where it's a little bit less dangerous for like small town people? I mean, like, it's fair enough that it's not really anywhere safe for Superman, but at least in the city you have backup from like, police, military. In Smallville, it's literally like if something happens, that's it. There's no safety net for anybody. It just seems a little bit dangerous to live in small. Like, talk about Gotham being dangerous. It would be really dangerous to live in Smallville.
Well, especially when you get
let's move to Smallville where there's like alien attacks on it.
Like if you do like danger per capita or something like that, Smallville will have to be like number 1 in the country for sure.
Yeah,
which should raise an eyebrow because it's meant to be this quiet town as well.
Yeah. Boba chimed in here. I think he's different because he's rough around the edges after being in prison for 17 years. Some people say he doesn't seem genius, sciencey enough, but his delivery and gravitas is so on point. I actually agree with the fact that I think he's a lot smarter than we can see at the moment. Because if you think about it, he managed to do all of that stuff. Like when he was in prison, he set up all of those different traps for the security guards and the prison ward.
As I say, Eric, and I think you play by this. You've got a beard as well, like Lex. Lex doesn't play the game; he makes the rules.
Right.
Obviously, you use that in a different context a lot of the time, but
I use it all the time.
Yeah, all the time. Okay, I was going to say like part of the time. Maybe
I
like
always make the rules, always, 100% of the time.
But you play no games.
No games.
No games.
Except for video games, but I guess that's a different thing. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not a different thing. Maybe I should make my own video games too. Maybe that's what I should do.
Make the game, make the rules.
But yeah, so one of the things that did kind of I questioned a little bit, and I think we talked about this over on Twitch, is the fact that he was locked up and couldn't seem to get out of these fake charges that were against him, or this fake like evidence that came out. And I get that they had to have that happen for the story, so I'm not questioning that. I understand to push the story along, but logically, I think it's a little. I mean, I think it's fair to question, like, if he has that much pull, how was he so easily framed? You know what I mean? And I know they had the whole voice thing from, Pia, but I feel like he could have had money to like really figure out, like, this is not my voice. I know it's not my voice. Why is, did he not know about Pia's powers? Because I think he would have known, right? I mean, if they had interaction with each other.
You'd assume so, but at the same time, like, we know that like Bruno and Lex were like sort of like fighting for, or I guess Boss Moxie and Lex were fighting for different. So I think that it's just like there's a narrative there. And that happens a lot with different things, even in real life. There's a narrative there that people can follow. Well, this makes sense why Lex would want to take out Boss Moxie, because he'd gain control of more in Metropolis. And so if there's like and we don't know if there was like things that, they tried to get Lex on before and there wasn't enough evidence because he's able to hide it. And then they're like, well, we'll ping him for this. Because that happens a lot. Like they'll ping someone for one thing and they'll overcharge because they didn't get pinged with something else. I mean, so let's refer to your best mate, OJ Simpson. He got away with murder. And then they overcharged him for that robbery thing. He got he would get
some time for.
He got a really, 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 really harsh punishment, way more than anyone else.
They gave him like the maximum of whatever that overcharge
because he didn't get charged for the murder, and they were like, "We're paying back for that." So is that like that's a real life example?
Are you suggesting that there are probably other charges that were put down that we're not aware of that maybe?
Well, there's always some sus stuff with Lex, but he'd have his right hand men or whatever, or Mercy Graves or something that would cover it, or people to take the fall for him.
Right.
So examples of that, like that,
yeah. I wonder if at any point Pia was worried that it would come out that he would get out of prison before all of this, like because they had all those run-ins and. Clearly, Lex had connections outside of the prison. So I'm wondering if they ever worried that he would do something to them from inside because he seemed to be able to do anything he wanted while inside a prison. Because Bruno was getting away with a lot of stuff, even though they're the ones that did it.
But we also don't know how much Bruno took in regards to, like, how do we know a lot of the people that didn't work for him are also people that work for Lex? So they just
what do you mean, like double agent type things? Or
well, no, they worked for Lex, and then as soon as Lex went to prison, they were like, "Well, we got to find someone else."
Oh, you mean so like he picked up like the people that
scraps
used to work for him. Yeah. So they became like his minions, I guess, working for him. I mean, that's possible too, but it also seems crazy that Lex. And let's go ahead and talk about the end of it. So after Lex goes and confronts them, which by the way, great scene between him and Clark and Lois there on the porch. But they end up going to Metropolis and to Hobbs Bay, where I guess that whole building had collapsed, and they find Bizarro underground, and he's eating rats like a zombie, and then Otis gets yeeted, like he becomes the next meal,
Well,
which is
yeeted. I don't know if he's gonna get yeeted, but it sounded like he was getting eaten, and there was
Right.
like squelching, like those type of noises and screaming and stuff like that. So I'd assume he was getting eaten, but at the same time, it's you never know. Maybe he gets one little bite in his arm.
So what do you think of this story then? This whole idea that we have a zombie Bizarro and Lex is going to be down. How is Lex going to control Bizarro is the question.
I'm assuming X-Kryptonite because it'd be X-Kryptonite in that area because they're making the solution with it. It will look like X-Kryptonite. I don't know if they ever confirmed it. I can't remember, but it'll look like X-Kryptonite. So I'd assume that. Otherwise, unless it's like, I know there's things in the comics where Bizarro and Lex have teamed up and stuff like that. So, but I don't know if you could talk to this Bizarro because it sounds like it is like a zombie fight, undead Bizarro.
Yeah. I'm very curious because nothing's quite as scary as like a Superman with zombie powers, like he wants to eat you. Like that's really frightening. But I wonder,
with superpower, like a Superman zombie, like that's
I mean it's like the Marvel zombies thing, but except you have a character that can literally do anything,
and hopefully except like good.
Yeah. So the other thing is that, and I know I keep going back to this because I'm guessing it's just going to be in the finale. Canada Graphs did actually see on set a character with like shards coming out of their back and stuff. I'm guessing that's Bizarro, right? I mean,
it could be, but there's also the elephant in the room, which is Atom Man, Henry Miller, because he said he filmed for the finale.
Right.
So, the fuck? Where is he?
Do you think he kills Bizarro?
Do you think it's a mislead? Do you think like they have this thing where it's like this thing that's happening and it's actually him? But then again, why have Bizarro? Maybe it's both.
Maybe they merge together somehow.
What, Dragon Ball Z style? I
don't know. I'm trying to think. The only other option is that Bizarro helps Superman defeat Atom Man. Like he's not a bad character. He ends up not listening to Lex.
Or maybe Atom Man's like YOLO. I can't keep going through this cycle of life and death. I'm just gonna. So Atom Man helps Superman.
Oh, that's another possibility too. To be honest, I have no clue, but I forgot that he's going to be in the finale. So that's bonkers. I hope it doesn't feel as rushed as the season 2 stuff was. I think season 2 stuff was kind of rushed at the end. I'm hoping that's not the case here.
Well, to be honest, I don't mind if this villain thing is rushed, whoever Superman's versing, because there's no need to. I mean, I don't really care.
I mean, Bizarro or Atom Man, it's not going to be a deep thing.
They're both just things. They're just like they'll reborn. So whatever. It's more of an issue if they rudders. If they rush anything in regards to Lex.
Okay, I agree with that. Now, as far as the rest of the episode, I'm trying to remember all the other stuff that happened. We had this stuff with Sarah and Jordan, right? That was in this episode where he went to see her at work and she's basically like, leave me alone. I don't want to talk to you anymore. And I saw a lot of people getting mad at Sarah, but both of them have kind of been bad to each other. I don't think I don't think one of them is at fault. I think they both kind of did this, right? What do you think about all that? I mean, because like clearly
it's just like
between the two of them.
It's almost like what's an example? It's like when someone owes you money and you just keep reminding them of the money that they owe you.
They keep going back, I guess.
It's like, I know I owe you money. Like I don't have $50. I can't pay you. Wait till next week. Like it's sort of like that. But Jordan's just like I'm gonna just pester you until I get my money, whatever it is. I want my money.
What a change of personality! Like Jordan's personality has completely changed since season 1.
Well, I think it's like an ego shift. It's like when someone that has nothing. Like really, when you look at Jordan, he was this guy that I guess had no friends and was always had anxiety and was having freak out attacks and everything like that. All of a sudden, he's a god, borderline a god with all these powers and stuff. And you become indestructible in your eyes, both physically and mentally and emotionally. And obviously emotionally, that's not the case. But
also, I think it's time for the parents to stop trying to just tell him what to do. And I know that's the wrong way to look at it, but he's a super kid and he's dealing with something that is extremely unique. Like
Yeah.
there's no one else except for his dad who understands what he's going through. And I think they need to, if they're going to impose rules on him like that, they need to have a conversation with him on why it's so important. And like the general made a good point, like they could use stuff to track him back to the house. Like that could happen. But if he's not taught that and he's not explained that, and he's not given that information, then he never understands the dangers of what he's doing. And I think he would listen more if the parents would actually explain to him all of the dangers of what he's doing instead of just telling him that he shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah,
it's just gonna make him want to do it even more as a kid. As a teenager,
okay. If this doesn't end in this season and Jordan's still like this, and we go into season 4. How would you take it if we have Superboy, the social media star, and he's doing vlogs and Snapchats and everything?
So I'm glad you're talking about that.
You're doing like the renegade.
I think we're going to see Jordan mirror John L's story from Bizarro World. I think he's going to become a social media superhero. That's what I think.
Yeah, which I don't mind because I think that's what would happen nowadays.
And if they move to Metropolis,
yeah. But the thing is that John L was in the public. He was him, but Jordan wears the mask and everything.
Right.
So that's the big thing. Does he take off the mask? Is that the temptation he has? It's like no one knows who I am.
Do you think the public is going to learn that Jordan or that Clark is Superman and all of that when they move back to Metropolis? Do you think it's all going to become?
Well, I wonder if that's the twist of this season. That's the cliffhanger because they keep talking about this cliffhanger. I'm like, what's the cliffhanger going to be? Because everyone's like, "Oh, it's Death of Superman." That just seems so lame. So like,
I don't want Death of Superman. I know
it seems so lame. Like, what are we? Batman v goddamn Superman? Yeah, like. So I wouldn't mind it if it's that where Jordan, because we've seen it, he's loving this attention. But everyone just sees it as Superboy. No one's seeing it as Jordan. And I think he doesn't want it to be this attention to be towards Superboy. He wants it to be towards Jordan.
Right.
And we've seen him like hyping up Superboy at school and stuff in the third person pretty much. So we're going to see him hashtag face reveal.
And we also had him like, that suit is ugly, by the way. He said we were going to see an evolution of the suit. It hasn't changed. It's been the same since he got it this season.
Well, I think it means like, if he shows his face, he'll change it up. He'll go full on Superboy. He'll get his own.
You know what I don't understand is that Clark shows his face all the time and nobody ever notices he's Superman. But for some reason, people would know he's Superboy. I don't totally get it.
It's the hair, Eric. It's the hair. They've established.
We can still cover the hair up.
Maybe he should get like a mullet or something like that. Mullet or like a faux hawk or something like that.
Business in the front, party in the back. Is that what you're saying there? So
and like in the back, it's got like it's dyed with the Superman emblem. It's like a cape.
Why do you think they just won't give him a Superboy outfit? Why does he have to wear this like?
Well, I think it's because he's not actually properly Superboy. Right. Like this suit was really made by his granddad on his own.
But it's not even as good as the Superman of America suits, the ones that they gave to that team. It should be at least that suit. I mean, I feel like that suit would make more sense than.
Well, I think it's also because it's not like an official one. Like that was a government thing. Like this is like a on the side. Like this is just in case you have to do something.
But if anybody should wear it, it should be the kid of Superman. Like that should be the person wearing it.
Yeah, I know, but I think it's also the thing where like Clark, especially it's like after episode 1, isn't it? Or episode 2, where Clark's like, "Hey, don't go out and do this because you keep being a goddamn idiot with it."
They should give him Cecile's suit. Would you think that would work?
Well, it'd be bright. Probably could just chuck a Superman emblem on that and it'll
work. We have a couple super chats. I'm going to save some of them until we're done with Superman and Lois because there are a couple of them that don't matter for the show. So that's Laura became a YouTube member. Thank you so much, Laura. I don't know if you did it completely or if you upgraded, but thank you so much for supporting. Hero's Journey with a $5 super chat. Jordan obsessing over powers is the same path as Supergirl. It's a pure evil path. Jordan needs to stop this behavior. Yes, I know he's young.
Well, hold on. Can I just have so how long are we into the stream? 24 minutes. Okay, usually it takes about 45 for Hero's Journey to go stupid in the chat. So having 20 minutes early.
Is it a record?
Well, I don't know. I think he might have done it earlier once before, but I'm surprised it only took 25 minutes this time.
I don't think he's. I think that the idea of having powers is something that everyone would struggle with. I mean, it's hard to do anyway because in reality, no one does. But if you did have something like that level of power, it would be tough, especially when you want to help and your parents keep telling you not to. And it was different with Clark because Clark had a family that did not have powers. So when he was growing up, it wasn't like his father or his mother was telling him not to do something based on them doing it and going, do as I say, don't do as I do. But in this case, he's seeing his dad be Superman. He's seeing this going on, and he's like, I can do those same things. And he wants to help, clearly, because he did it with the tornado. So he wants to help. But there's also, like you're saying, Paigey, this new world where social media is a thing, and that's part of his life as a teenager. Right now. So I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about Kyle and Jonathan and that whole thing. He was cheesing because now he knows Superman, so he was going easy on Jonathan at the firehouse. I don't care much about the story, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. But the one thing that really bugged me was when Kyle basically was telling Jonathan, when stuff happens here, you don't go tell your parents. You come to me, and I'm like, you don't.
That sounds like borderline, like as if it's like it's gonna be like a sex house or something. Like
I was like, that's not.
It's like
don't.
What happens in Vegas
it,
stays in Vegas.
I understand that it's a job. But you don't tell
it's like
a
cult.
minor, like, don't tell your parents about stuff here. You come to me first, and I'm like.
Hashtag sus alert.
Yes. That is exactly what he was saying.
He was like, if you've got an issue, come to me. Don't go to your parents.
Exactly. That's exactly what he said. I love people that are arguing semantics. Like that wasn't.
Well, you're usually the one that argues semantics. So it's like how the tables have turned.
But I'm not gonna let people defend what Kyle was doing. I've known people that have said stuff like that to other people, like that have actually been abused. We're not going to use the other word as kids, and those are the kinds of conversations they had. It wasn't good dialogue.
Hashtag Jared Fogle
was not good dialogue. That should have not been the conversation. The conversation should have been him saying, "I wish you would have came to me about this." That should have been the conversation. That should have been the way it went down, not the way it happened in the show. It was the writing was just really sus in that moment because you can't don't even open that door. Don't even open that door.
Don't open the door. There's a pedophile on the other side.
Okay, I think I need to point this out. Jonathan is a minor. Jonathan is a child. Regardless of what someone else thinks in terms of how they feel, they can go to their parents and tell them about it. Period. These aren't two adults. These aren't two adults. Yeah, these aren't two adults. Saying that a kid talking about their life and their struggles at their job with their parents is a Karen is one of the dumbest comparisons I've ever seen in my life. That's so dumb. He can't control what his dad did. Yes, they're 16. He can't control that his dad came to the firehouse and did that, which, by the way, the problem wasn't with Jonathan. It was with Clark. So it's right that he's the one that approached Kyle about it because that was the issue. It wasn't what Jonathan was doing. He was doing the job he was being asked. So there we go. 3 points.
One, weird sport reference by Eric. Two, since when does a 3-pointer sound like a fart? Like
this? Like that?
No, you went.
Yeah, that's because when I do 3-pointers, it feels as good as passing gas. That's why it feels that good.
Okay. That was. Oh, I was gonna say maybe you pass gas to get like an extra lift off.
I was thinking that was close to a food reference. Is that close enough to a food reference, or?
Well, 3-pointer be like like combo meal.
Okay, there we go. See, that's why I don't do.
Supersize me.
I think Paigey did die of cringe and then was resuscitated. Like
it was bad, Eric. It was probably it wasn't a strong moment. It was a.
Yeah. It is. It is what it is. Like Sage says, we need to investigate someone who wrote this in the script. I think it was just. I think it was
more to it. This is like Kyle, like almost having like a, and it's like I think it's like sort of playing off the whole him knowing that Clark is Superman thing, and like how do people handle this secret? Like Lana handled it really well. Carl isn't for the most
Subway
part.
eat flesh. There you go.
Oh.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, in the future, when you write a show and you have a character that is 16 working with an adult, and that adult and that the minor has an issue with the job, their character should never insinuate the kid shouldn't talk to their parents. That's just not cool.
Not cool, man. Not
anyway,
cool.
What else did we have in the episode? I'm trying to think. Am I missing anything? I think that's pretty much it. As far as the big stuff, we didn't have any John Henry or Natalie, which is weird because we know they're not coming back for season 4, and there's only one episode left. And we don't know what's going to happen with Kyle and Chrissy. Not that I care, but she's going to be a character that's not coming back either.
That's the thing I'm intrigued by. Is if there's any, I assume there isn't, because I don't know if unless they had like a hint early on before they finished filming the season, where like they might. I wonder if they do like a soft wrap up to a lot of the characters, so like they can return some of them and they can just do minor things, but also they can reference back to like the characters that do leave. Like
I just thought about this. If we go into season 4 and some of these characters aren't coming back, think about where they're left right now. Say, for example, next week's episode doesn't really focus on like supporting characters. It's really just about the family and like Lex Luthor and stuff, right? That means we're going to leave characters in some weird places. We're going to have Kyle and Chrissy in a relationship, I guess, that we never see what happens. I don't know if people care about it or not. I'm not particularly too concerned about it, but we have that going on. We have Lana with whatever drama is going on with her being the mayor and then possibly getting promoted to a bigger role somewhere or doing something bigger, which we don't know about that either. And we have Sarah working at the diner because that seems to be what she's happy doing. So just assume that she doesn't come back. She's continues to work there for the rest of her life. I mean, I don't know. It's a weird place to leave characters, because normally when you wrap it up, you want to sort of give a character something that makes you, like, for example, Cisco. Like, yes, it sucks that we didn't get to see Cisco for like 3 seasons, but the reality is that at least we knew that he was doing something meaningful. You know, he was working for Argus and supposedly doing things over there. Like, leaving characters without a proper sort of wrap up never feels good. So I hope that they at least address that next season. Maybe they'll do it in conversation. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it'll be like, oh, you know, Chrissy and Kyle's wedding is next week or something like that. Something along those lines. I don't know. Maybe they will. We have to wait and see. I'm really curious to how they're going to do it. Are you too concerned about it, or are you not bothered by it?
So wait and see. Like, I don't really have too many predictions going into it. In regards to, I don't. Someone just said there's a theory that Chrissy Beppo is Lex's daughter. I don't like that theory. That sounds really silly.
Yeah.
But you know what? You know who actually looks like they could play the older version of Lex's daughter?
Who?
That Leslie La character from season 1.
Oh yeah.
It literally looks like a younger version of that character.
Yeah. I was wondering this as well. How far away was the prison for him to walk all the way to the Ken's house?
You could probably do some math, because he leaves in the morning, gets there in like, I guess like not late, but like maybe like 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night. So what is that? That's something that an 8-9 hour walk. What's the hold on? Average walking speed of human.
Do some quick math here. While you're doing that,
you know what? I might give you the numbers and you can do the math, because you seem like you're such a goddamn genius today.
Yeah, I am. I'm so smart. While you're doing that, I'm going to answer this quickly. Staggerforth, the 49 super chat. Would you consider talking about my adventure with Superman? I know you don't normally cover animation, but it might be something worth exploring. I mean, maybe. It really depends. I'm going to watch the first episode and see, but to me, it looks like it might not be something super deep. We'll see. What I might do is I might cover it on Twitch and then clip out that from Twitch and upload it to YouTube. So if you, we'll see.
Interesting. Okay. So the average walking speed of a human is about 5 kilometers an hour. I know you're Americans who use miles for some reason, so I don't know. You're a lot alone. So we're using kilometers because we're in a proper country. So kilometers per hour. In the comics, Smallville is approximately 150, 160 kilometers away from. That's the distance between Smallville and Metropolis. Mm-hmm. So at that rate, he has to be walking for quite a long time, 32 hours. obviously he was not working for 32 hours. He was walking for about 8. So unless that means it was a very quick pace at 20 kilometers an hour, or whenever he wasn't on screen, he got into a light jog. And then it was like the cameras are rolling and he stopped and started to walk.
Well, there we go.
Actually, well, to be fair, he left from the prison. So but it's hard because in the comics, that's an island off Metropolis, no swimming involved. So in the context of the,
did we ever see the outside other than the gate? I don't think we saw anything but the gate.
But it was just in the prison. It was no island, so he just walks. It's just like I guess it's on the outskirts of Metropolis, I'd assume. So yeah, Lex was running in between takes.
Yeah. Okay, so in the chat, what would you give this episode 1 to 10? I think I gave it like a 8. I think I gave it an 8, a 7 or 8, somewhere around there. I think it was fine. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with this Lex Luthor. I think he's very menacing. So I'm curious how the finale is going to play out. We'll see, though. We'll see where it goes. We're seeing some 8s. 8. A lot of people 8. I think that's kind of where I settled on it, too, if I remember correctly. Jorge gave it a 10. 8.5, 9. Okay. 8 from Rob. Simulator gave it a 10 out of 10. All right. 7 out of 10 from Jasmine. Feather Guardian says 5 out of 10. Wow.
Well, that's a troll, obviously.
Gabriel says 0 out of 0. Okay.
Well, that's 100%, isn't it?
Yeah. It's my favorite episode of the season. I can't believe you only gave it a 7. It wasn't. I like action a lot, and I just didn't. There wasn't a lot of action this week.
So what you're saying is you have a poor attention span.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 7 out of 10. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I don't know how that's a bad score. I hate this idea of like.
I think it's because you gave Ant-Man Quantumania a 7 out of 10 as well. So I think that's where the issues are arising.
Bubba says, what do you think he's tells Superman he's next man? It feels like his iteration of Superman and Lex have it. That's what I'm feeling. I don't think there is a lot of Pat because he's been in there for 17 years, which would have been a big chunk of Superman's like career.
And like, how old was he when he went into prison?
Who? Superman?
Well, no, Lex.
Well, no, because I thought you meant like when Superman was actually Superman.
No, well, I guess either, but mainly Lex. Like, how old
Superman
was
is supposed to be in his mid-30s, right? I think that's the age of the character on the show. Like mid-30s.
Yeah, like, oh, yeah.
So Superman would have been in his early 20s then, probably late teens, early 20s, probably when Lex went to jail.
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out how old Lex was because he's enough to build this like control over Metropolis. Then again, his dad might have done that before and he just took over.
I mean, he seems like he's in his late 40s, early 50s, right? I mean, that's the.
And now he seems like that's 17 years. So I guess he was in his late 30s or something when he went into prison.
So Superman would have still been like relatively like his early days of Superman.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if Lex would have been on his radar at that point. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that would have been something he would have even been dealing with then. Because you got to remember, it showed like the majority of his time as Superman, Lex has been locked up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm going to say I don't think there's much history between them, to be honest. So, Hero's Journey, this is the weird thing. Some people were saying, and Paige, I want you to chime in on this as well, because I don't think we talked about it on Wednesday. People were saying that it looked like Lex knew that Clark was Superman. Do you agree or disagree with that in that scene?
You could definitely play it off like that. The way he looks at him, it's like, I don't know if it was like, oh shit, you're Superman sort of thing, or like he was just surprised Clark Kent like fronted up.
Yeah.
And
Kata says he doesn't know. Yeah, I don't know if he does or not. He might have a suspicion.
I always like the thought that Lex always knows that Clark is Superman, but he has that power that he like. Why would he want other people to know?
Right.
Like he's the one to know. I always like that theory that he always knows.
Yeah. Marvel One says I don't think he knows. Kempton or thought Lois and Clark with it. I think they're supposed to be mid-30s.
I was going to say they must be at least in their early 40s because they got 16, 17-year-old kids or something.
Maybe. I can't remember.
And they were together for they were married and everything before they had kids.
But even if they were, though, Lex would have still been in prison for 17 years. So
oh yeah, but I mean like just in regards to their age.
Yeah. Chosen Vader says, do you think Jordan being out in the field could make Lex suspect Clark? And I mean, I don't even know if it would matter at this point because Lex seems to only really care about the stuff with Lois primarily, and than Superman. I don't think he even knows that there's like we'd have to establish that would be a story that would have to be established over a couple of episodes, and we only have one episode left. I don't know if they have time to do that. Let's see. Hey, what's up, Lance? How are you doing? So Gabriel says, I have a question. Who is Zombie Doomsday Bizarro? Is that you want to talk about that? Zombie, did you mention that in a video or something?
Well, no, but they could be going with the whole zombie Superman Bizarro sort of thing in the comics. I think that's what it's going to look like.
Okay.
Where it's like the Doomsday sort of like mixed with Superman. That's what it could be. Because the thing is that in that episode, was it last episode? Not the one that we just watched this week. I think it was because we had that break, so it feels like it was longer than ago. But I think it was only episode 11. But his skin was like bubbling or something like that. So something's changing with him. So it makes you think he's the one that's going to like evolve past again. So I wonder, which wouldn't surprise me too much, is if he gets killed by Lex when he attacks Otis in that thing. And what happens in Doomsday? You kill him.
Right.
Comes back stronger. The finale title is called "What Kills You Makes You Stronger," or "What Kills You Only Makes You Stronger."
Yeah. So there we go.
Bum. Hash browns.
All right, so we're gonna move on. We have some topics here that we're gonna go over. These should be fun. CW pulls Baron after 4 episodes. Barons is the Australian like show that just got launched. Remember, we talked about this a while ago. It's like 4 episodes in or something, and they've already canceled it basically.
So they're just going to stick it on their streaming thing, and
yeah.
But
did you see this coming? Was this something that you suspected?
Who would have thought acquiring shows that were already readily available elsewhere beforehand, and they just streamlined it through, I guess, the American TV system? Who thought they wouldn't get that many views to the point where they're not even worth airing?
I do believe that the two of us both said that there was no value in the CW without the shows that are on the CW. It's a
CW was a brand. Like you tuned in to watch a specific show. You didn't tune in like it's not like NBC. I'm just going to flick on NBC, or I'm going to flick on Fox. I'm going to flick on whatever it is, CBS, and just watch whatever's on. You would, if you put on the CW, it was for a specific reason to watch a specific show.
Mm-hmm.
So when that's not the case, no one's got the CW on in the background, unless they were watching. Unless it's like their local news station, it's like an affiliate.
But
even then,
like CW, you think of stuff like Supernatural or Riverdale or Vampire Diaries or Walker or the Arrowverse. You don't think of stuff like this.
No,
this was a massive mistake that we called, and we don't even work for this fucking company.
No,
like I saw this and I was like, who is making this decision? This is the dumbest decision. This and all the other shows like this will inevitably happen to all of these shows.
Yeah,
all of them.
Like, if I'm just wondering if I can go to the the CW ratings 2023. If there's like a thing for like to compare their original shows.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so it's just got a credit here that Barron's has been cancelled. Mm-hmm. But I mean, Barron's got 0.164 million. Yeah, but they have a show called The Rising, which is like a Canadian or British show or something.
Yeah.
But once again, it's just like you might get as we talked about. It was clearly they were going the Schitt's Creek method, not going up Shit Creek, but like the Schitt's Creek show, and just throwing everything at a wall and hoping that 1 out of 8 to 10 shows works.
Yeah,
and
so, someone made a good point about this. They renewed Superman and Lois for season 4, but do we know the network is even going to be around in a year?
The network will be around, but it just depends what it is. Like the thing is that because it. I mean, as you know, like even this show is still getting 0.164. Obviously, it's not enough for them to keep going to the point where you'd pay for the licensing and everything like that. But they'll just fill that in with probably a repeat of like Whose Line Is Anyway, or
you know what they're replacing this with?
Something.
You know what they're replacing this time slot with?
Can I have a
Nancy
guess?
Drew. They're
Oh.
rerunning the season of Nancy Drew. And I bet you, I'm just going to go out on a limb here, Nancy Drew reruns will get more numbers than this.
Well,
did.
yeah, probably. Yeah.
That's wild. The CW, that whole idea of our demographic is 58-year-olds. What the fuck? What world is that? Where they think that 58
That is the world in manipulated stats where they don't actually include, and you'll notice it says it's removed from the CW primetime schedule, because if they did the prime time, it would have been like 20 to 30-year-olds as the average age.
Which is, we talked about it. Okay, so there's two things with that 58-year-old number that struck me as weird. If you go and you look from like the morning until about 7 o'clock at night, it's all like older people stuff.
It's
like
news, Maury Povich,
those judge shows, Judge Judy,
divorce court,
like right? But then you had the primetime block, which was always skewing young adult, which I'm surprised that they did not know that. That seems like something they should have known, right?
You think they'd know, but obviously
even if
not.
they didn't, are they judging it based on a household number or the age of the person who owns the accounts? Because think about it, a 58-year-old would probably have kids in their like 20s and you know, like late 20s or whatever, that are probably watching these shows, you know, maybe using their account, because nowadays everybody shares streaming account information if they're using the CW app or something like that. They have, like, I don't think those numbers are readily available anymore. And I think it was dumb to go with that 58-year-old number, considering the entire network was built off of young adult drama.
Yep.
And they got rid of the shows like Whose Line Is It Anyway, which was extremely cheap to make, that people actually watched on this network.
Yep.
Right, Email Thomas, that's exactly it. That's what I was saying. Like, there's a lot of people that probably had parents or grandparents who had the account owners that they were watching it on. And Quinlan says, with the same way streaming as a whole is going with Netflix and the password crackdown as a video you did on Paramount Plus canceling stuff, makes you wonder, what is TV going to become, just reality trash? Well, speaking of that, we are over 50 days into the writer's strike at this point. Over 50 days. Paigey, thoughts on this?
Well, what was that? Now we're closing on halfway of the other one.
Yeah.
The other one for about 110, 12 days, I think it was, or something, or 16, something like that.
Yeah.
And I honestly thought it would have been resolved by now.
Me too.
Just because, but to be fair, that was under the assumption that the Writers Guild buckled a bit, because I don't see the studios buckling with the streaming stuff, because otherwise streamers won't exist.
Right.
They won't be able to go on, because the thing is, a lot of these things they're not replaying stuff through network TV, which is where a lot of the residual money comes from. And you can't repeat that residual money through streaming. You
know what, Paigey? This could be the rebirth of network TV, because network TV is going to start, like NBC, CBS. They've already said they're going to take like shows on their streamers that have been out for like 3 or 4 seasons and start airing them in the fall, like brand new shows on their network, like Star Trek,
and advertise them as like brand new, and like advertisements, new things, and
they're going to pick up a whole bunch of people that are going to start watching it on TV, and they may go, hey, let's just dump all of this stuff back on television, and we'll dissolve the streaming service, or make the streaming service what it was originally, which is just
who would have thought people getting greedy and overflooding a market that was only really amazingly popular because of one service. Who thought that would be a disaster, Eric?
I don't know. Like everybody, like everyone was saying that. We were saying that. I said, look, if you go back to like the after party during COVID era, I said like the bubble's going to burst eventually. And it's going to get to the point where everyone has a streaming service. Everyone.
The thing is, there's only, I think, 2 streaming services that need to exist. I think only 2 warrant existence based off how much content they produce and at a consistent value. And I feel like people can afford them. One is the obvious. That's Netflix, because it's the OG, is already there.
And it's accessible. Like, it's easy to use. Like, a lot of these are complicated. That one's really
Do you know what the other one is?
What?
It's Disney Plus. Because it has such a wide ranging of content.
Right.
And it's got so much IP.
So you think
Now,
a
you could
lot of these
argue-
ones, like for the networks and TVs, just need to do deals with other streaming services like Netflix?
I think that's the
whatever?
case. I think that's the way to do it. Like, because the thing is, if Warner Brothers wants to make these shows at a higher end, they feel are past network TV. They fucking had it. It was called HBO, and then they get all the stuff through HBO, and then it can be outletted to other places like a Netflix, for example. You know,
Right.
how many people would have watched Game of Thrones through Netflix?
It would have been massive. Netflix probably
Massive.
would have crashed from all of the people watching.
Like all those times I was there.
Yeah.
Like, to me, like you could like, it was all about like trying to get into the market and try and make as much money as possible. But surely no one's made money. Like Netflix is the only one that would have made some sort of thing there, and Disney's slowly getting there. And funnily enough, they're the two that probably should still be there.
Well, here's the deal with
Disney's
Amazon. For
somewhat
me, is not
affordable.
specifically a streaming service. That's what makes it different. Amazon Prime is connected to a completely different thing.
Yeah. And to be honest, like I didn't even think of them, which sort of shows like I don't think they're that big of a player in it. They're like more of like a studio sort of thing that folds in. Like,
yeah, I feel like Amazon money from Amazon comes from Amazon, which is,
and that's like a larger thing.
different.
Like that's like with the Prime thing, that's the streaming service, their music, their like the Kindle, and obviously just the shipping stuff as well.
Yeah. Cullen says I would rather have Amazon Prime streaming over Disney. Well, I don't think Amazon Prime would ever be under the same scrutiny as like the other streaming services. Because to be fair, this is why. Okay, so let me explain to you why Amazon Prime is different in so many ways. Number one, it's connected to Amazon, which is a big deal. Secondly, it's a subsidiary company. Like if you go to Amazon Prime, you can pay for other things. Like you can buy Showtime, you can buy Disney Plus, you can buy all these
Paramount
other services.
Plus.
Yeah, you can watch all of these under the banner of Amazon Prime. The Amazon originals do make up a chunk of the library, but
the amount of Amazon originals that
small...
comes out is like not that many, like compared to like the other places.
Yeah. It's similar to like Apple TV. Apple TV has its own shows, but you can also buy HBO and all that stuff through.
Well, yeah, like
through Apple TV.
I get them all the time. It's like you'll say like, oh, like a new Apple show's on, but then I got the Apple TV thing. So, but then I'll say like, oh, this new episode of this show you're watching on this other streaming service, a new episode's out. Go watch it.
It's on Showtime or something, and you'll watch it or whatever. Yeah. So that's completely different from like a Paramount Plus or a you know, any of the other ones. Basically, I can't think of another one like Prime or Apple where they do like a payment thing. And then the other thing is that and we're going to move over to another topic now. We're going to breeze right on into this one. Where's it at? The Super Friends show. This is one of the other shows that has been taken off of HBO Max. HBO Max is just basically removing stuff. Like it's just removing things. Or I should say Max Discovery, whatever you want to call it. It's like you have this thing where they put everything together to create these hubs for different IPs, and they just keep removing the IPs. They keep taking them off. And I'm not really sure what the purpose is. What are we paying for as customers if you just keep removing things? Especially when you're not adding anything new. Like, what do they have DC-wise to carry them through the next year that's coming out? Like one cartoon, maybe a show? So wouldn't you want to bolster your DC library if you want your DC properties to be successful? I mean, you have James Gunn coming in to do this relaunch. You need DC to be everywhere at this time. And this is something that is relatively cost them nothing to keep on their platform. And this is just one example. Why are you removing content from your hub that isn't costing you, it's costing you pennies to keep on there? Do you think this has anything to do with them selling things off? Because we talked about this over on Twitch about them selling off some of their stuff, like their music and their other shows, to like different places like Prime and Netflix. Do you think that's what they're trying to do? They're removing stuff from HP or from Max so they can sell it off to other streamers? Is that what's happening?
I don't know. I'm interested to see like I'm sure they have some stats behind why they, for example, took this off Max. I wonder if they just go like how much they go through, whether it's a monthly thing. I doubt they do weekly, so like monthly or quarterly or something like that, and see what's being viewed and what's not, and whether it's worth still bolstering in the library. So maybe Super Friends is literally getting no viewers. Like no one's clicking on Super Friends to watch.
But it's still also, they are not promoting any. Like if you go to the HBO Max app, like one of the things I noticed, I keep saying HBO Max, it's fucking Max now. the home of HBO. Long ass title.
Max Power.
Yeah. When you go there, they're not advertising stuff. Like I don't see stuff advertised that I would watch. It's like the algorithm for them to like show you something is completely broken because there's so much stuff on it. Now that they've combined everything together, there's so much stuff on it. And as a viewer, I don't necessarily want to be always catered to, but a show like Super Friends, I wouldn't have even known it exists on the platform because they're never showing it to me. I think there's a big issue with that too. That how is somebody going to see something that the platform itself is not advertising? We're seeing cuts in advertising. We're not seeing Disney advertise the way they should. There's a lot of issues here. And Cody says here, we're effectively back to it's worse than pre-COVID. Because pre-COVID, we were getting stuff like the Snyder Cut being discussed. Like they were talking about ways to bring people into these streaming services. You have to remember, a lot of these streaming services didn't even really exist until COVID. Like a lot of them sort of morphed into what they are now because of COVID. So a lot of them didn't exist. So just the whole idea of where we are now is this weird morphing situation where they were willing to spend money on stuff. Look at what Walter Hamada wanted to do with Batgirl and Blue Beetle and like DC. He wanted to bolster that library to bring people into the streaming service. And now we're in an era where they're removing stuff that is literally from the 70s. Like they don't even want to put stuff on the platform that's already done. Batgirl was written off, basically. Quindle says, yes, it is. It feels like back in the midst of COVID when we had literally no content to watch. Well, the other thing is, like, I guess with Super Friends, the one thing that I will say is at least you could, and I don't know if this is true, but I'm going to assume this is true. You could probably go online and order like a DVD of it if you wanted, like to get all the episodes and stuff. I'm pretty sure a lot of these properties are. But then some of the stuff that we see, and this is I talked about this the other day as well. Let me see if I have this ready and queued up to go. Where's it at? Right here. Paramount Plus is following in the footsteps of David Zaslav and yeeting shows off of their platform.
Yeet.
The worst part about it is, again, with these shows, these aren't bad shows.
I've never watched any of them.
But that's probably because. Well, do you have Paramount Plus in Australia?
No, that'd be. Oh, yeah. Well, there is Paramount Plus here. I don't, because there's just nothing on there that's
okay.
That pays me.
The Rise of the Pink Ladies. I told you that I think I mentioned this on Twitch. We've been watching this or whatever. It's like Glee, but it's set in the world of Greece. It's a good show.
Because if you didn't know, Eric did like a whole Grease Lightning performance on Twitch.
Yeah.
Would you like to give us a short thing?
So we have that. Yes. Star Trek Prodigy was a great show. It was primarily, it was almost like Illumination Pixar, like animation. It was really expensive, first of all. I'm pretty sure it was an expensive show to make because it was like that high-end sort of like cinematic, animation. But it was good, but it also wasn't really promoted. I think they got greenlit for a second season. They had already started working on a second season. And now they say that basically that's going to have to be shopped around because Paramount Plus doesn't want it. Queen of the Universe is like an American Idol, America's Got Talent type show, but it's like international, which is live singing. I love that. Remember, I started my channel on American Idol, so that was originally what I reviewed. So back in the old days. And then what was it? The game was canceled on a cliffhanger. But here's the worst part. Not only are they canceling them, but then they're just removing them from their streaming platform. And most of these shows don't have physical releases.
They're pretending like that never existed.
Yeah, because they don't want to pay health insurance for people that worked on the shows. Because that's the way the contracts are. This is why the writer's strike is actually going on as long as it is, because they're tired of this shit, basically. So the contract explicitly states that as long as these shows are on, that residuals have to be paid to everyone that worked on them, because that's just the way it works. And that residual feeds into a health insurance fund. So by removing them, they have effectively taken that out of the equation. And I blame David Zaslav because this did not exist prior to him coming into Warner's. I mean, it did. It was something you could do, but nobody would dare do it because it's anti-consumer. It is extremely anti-consumer, and it's anti-art. It's anti-worker. It is anti-everything. It is all pro-corporation.
Here's the big thing: is it anti-woke though?
I don't know.
Well, you just said it's anti-everything. So.
Okay, well then it could be anti-woke. I don't know, but it's across the board. Like it's this idea that there's no customer loyalty anymore. You know what I mean? Like when I pay for these services, I pay for them so that one day as I'm sitting around and I want to go watch something, it's available to me. That's the point of a streaming service. So if somebody's not watching something right this second, it doesn't need to be removed. At a certain point, somebody may go and watch it. It's just so fucking anti-consumer. It's ridiculous. But you know, Paige didn't even watch Paramount Plus, so it doesn't matter to him. Let's go over here. Comic-Con. If you bought tickets, Lance, I'm looking at you. You're going to be staring at a wall.
Staring at a wall.
So it looks like right now, pretty much everybody's pulling out of this. We got Marvel, Netflix, Sony, HBO, and Universal. And when the HBO is skipping it, that pretty much means Warner Brothers is going to skip it most likely. They haven't officially announced it yet, but they're going to skip it.
To say something, Eric, I have to ask you, do you buy any physical media? Or do you just go through the streaming service route?
If there's physical media available for something and it's like it's had a complete run, you know what I mean? Like it's like a 3-season box set or something, I will buy it. I typically don't buy them season by season if I can.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, I buy physical media. I don't buy as much as like, you know, I'd like to, because there's some things I just buy the things that I feel like I really want to buy because I know I'll watch it.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, like Eric, someone has to says it. Someone has to say it. Hashtag bring back Blockbuster. Eric, we need a twerk charity stream or something like that.
This could be the return of Blockbuster, Paigey. This could be the return.
We need something like that. Like there's a video shop near me that like had and they're actually pretty cheap. It's just that I have sort of everything I want. Like if I don't need to go rent. Like I just do it that way. But they still exist, just in very low things. Honestly, the simulator, I'm not surprised you'd write something so silly like that in the chat. So, L.
Wait. Oh, digital, all digital.
That's what an L. Blockbuster ended just because of Netflix, pretty much. Like that whole thing, it was shifting.
I agree, Jasmine, and Hollywood Video. Bring them back.
We didn't have Hollywood Video. We had Blockbuster that was here. One of my friends worked at Blockbuster when we were in high school.
And then Kangaroo Cuts.
No, we had Video Easy. Video. What was this? That was like, how does this song? It was like Video Easy or something like that. Anyway,
is that official? Is that the official theme song?
I think it was something like that. Video. I remember. I went to Video Easy when I was really young, and then when I moved houses, the closest thing was a Blockbuster. And I used to. The best thing about Blockbuster was I'd always get the brand new video games in the week that they came out. And you had to be the first one to rent it. And you'd rent it for like 3 days and you wouldn't have to buy the game and you get to finish it. Like I remember Lord of the Rings Return of the King on PS2. Got that and beat the shit out of that, co-op and everything like that. Oh, how good were those? No offense. If you're a kid now, it fucking sucks. That was like the golden age. Like, and when Eric is a kid, you go to the video rental shop. Obviously, he was getting vinyl movies and stuff, but hold on. No, I'm charging up the record player.
When
man.
I was a kid, I felt very privileged because I was given at Christmas time a VCR for my bedroom. So I was.
That would have been a flex. That would have been a flex. But
no,
that
it was a huge
the
flex.
But that was back in the day when like a cassette, like a videotape cost like $80 or something, wasn't it?
Yes.
So if you got a videotape of a movie, you watched the shit out of that movie.
Well, not only that, but it was like you had to rent everything because it was so expensive. You couldn't buy movies and things like that. So,
but that's why it was so good because it was like, if you wanted to buy the movie, you could go buy Superman. You could go buy the Christopher Reeve Superman, or you could buy Star Wars or whatever. But you had to love that movie or just be filthy rich to go buy those. But then you go to Blockbuster and you'd rent your favorite movie, and that's why you'd spend time. You'd be like, oh, I'm stressing out, dude. I'm in the aisle. I've only got one movie.
Look,
I need to pick it right.
I loved it because you smell the popcorn when you walk in there. Like that would be popping in the background, and you could get ready.
What in the Blockbuster?
Yeah, they used to have popcorn in a popcorn machine there.
Really? Fuck. We had a shit over here. It was like you could buy like the microwave bag, but they had like a different style. It was like the premium microwave popcorn. So it wasn't like the store one. It was like if you did it, it's got as close to movie popcorn as
yeah.
You
Well, the way they did it here is that if you rented a movie, you could like fill a bag of popcorn to take home with you. So it was like
I remember my one used to have like a lolly, sort of like a candy, like a candy sort of thing, and you could scoop it into a bag. And what was the other thing? And the they have like all the different like the screens. They'd be showing just trailers of movies constantly. I guess they get like sent like just a tape they'd put in to just repeat trailers or something like that.
Yeah, that was what it was. Yeah. But I mean, look, everything is affecting everything. This is why and a lot of people say Comic-Con is going back to comics now, which is what it initially was, because a lot of these places, like let's look at the list here and see what's happening. So first of all, Marvel is probably going to go to D23 in September. That's most likely where we're going to see a lot of Marvel stuff, because by then they'll have a better idea of the way they're restructuring everything. Because right now they're trying to because with the writer's strike, it makes it really difficult to even discuss upcoming projects. So hopefully by D23 they have an idea. Netflix, I guess they just don't have a lot coming out. I don't know. Doesn't seem like it really matters to them. Sony is mostly video game stuff, and that would be like Spider-Man type stuff, which by the way is not going to benefit much from the Comic-Con footage. HBO and Universal, which obviously they're writing off stuff every day. So there's no D23 this year. Really, I saw online they were selling tickets for it. So unless somebody's selling fake stuff, I mean, I guess maybe they pushed it back or they took it away or whatever. But do you think? How long do you think it is before DC just announces they're not going to be there?
Well, the thing is, if that Actors Guild thing happens, then they definitely won't be doing it. I mean, at this point, DC could go, but I would just send Blue Beetle. If an Actors Guild thing doesn't happen, there's no point. Like, just send Blue Beetle, and because it costs them money to do it. Like, Comic-Con doesn't fucking pay to.
I'm going to say essentially, if we're going to be covering Comic-Con, which I was going to do it this year, but I don't even know if it's worth it at this point.
I'm surprised how quickly it crashed and burned. Like any interest in Comic-Con this year.
Yeah,
and I said to you, like I said to you last year, like there was people talking about like going to Comic-Con this year. I'm like, don't. It's nothing's going to happen. Like even if all these things were
next year's probably going to be popping off for Comic-Con.
Yeah, even if this happened, Marvel announced all this shit last year. Like, what would they announce this year? Like maybe like a couple of castings. They can do that online. They don't need to. Yeah. Netflix does their own thing. They just had it last week or whatever it was, so they need to be there. HBO, I mean, unless they had a Game of Thrones thing to show, like that's probably all they're going to show. Like, because Last of Us, they haven't started filming that next thing.
The only thing Gunn would announce is this super chat here from Staggervord that he sent in. Just as was reported that Superman Legacy casting could be announced as early as next week.
And that's the thing. The reason is because he's doing it now. That shit would leak. It would always leak because so many people have their fingers in the pie when it comes to negotiating that stuff, is that it would leak. So it'd be pointless trying to hold it off until then. Marvel tried to do that last year or the year before or whatever it was, and it leaked like the week of. Like, and they tried to hold off as much as they could.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to get to the point where like everyone just does their own thing. Marvel already is a part of D23. Netflix does that Saddam thing, whatever it is. I mean, HBO is a part of Warner Brothers, so it wouldn't surprise me if Warner Brothers does anything. And the thing is that like all you have to do is do what Netflix did last week, and you do a thing where you have like maybe you can sell 4,000 tickets to like the Staples Center or something like that, fill it up and just put a stage there, and you live stream the shit. Yeah. And maybe there's a couple of things that are exclusive, so it goes like blank for like a minute and a half. They really have something exclusive they want to show,
right?
That's the way it's going to happen going forward.
But you know, the reality is that what is happening with Comic-Con will eventually just turn into what's happening with streaming. Everybody's going to try and do their own little thing, and then they're going to realize that the diminishing returns in money is so massive, it just makes more sense to go back to Comic-Con again.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what's going to happen.
But I think it's also because there's so much shit. Like back, if you go 10 years ago when like all the Comic-Con stuff like really started thing where like everyone was like, oh, all H, you know, everything happening at this one time and stuff like that. there wasn't as much stuff. There wasn't all these streaming services that have all these different projects. Marvel might have 2 things to show. Now they have 47.
Yeah.
DC would only have 1 or 2 things to show. Now they got 10 or something in there that people are like, what about this? What about that? What about this? So there's just so much stuff there that like it's just it has to like filter down a bit. But it's not going to, at least in the near future.
So Kenneth says about 10 or 15 years, Comic-Con will be a thing of the, I don't think so. Comic-Con will just turn back into what it was originally, which is a comic book convention. I think that's what essentially would happen. You would see a lot less money being pumped into it, but it would still happen. I mean, it's, if you go there, there's still a lot of stuff about comic books. It's just always overlooked by the movies and the TV shows. Staggervore says we'll just call it the Zaslav effect. That's what I've been calling it for a while. Cody says Marvel just delayed everything too. Yeah, we just a couple weeks ago we saw that they delayed a ton of projects, probably because of the writer strike, probably because of stuff with Jonathan Majors. Which, by the way, if you want to deep dive into that, go watch the Twitch stream from Wednesday. It's available to watch over on Twitch. That is a mess. If you guys here in the chat do not know what's going on with Jonathan Majors and that stuff right now, it is an absolute shit show in terms of like where it's going to go and what's going to happen. Because as it looks right now, a lot of the stuff that was first announced, everything that was being said about Jonathan Majors may not actually be true. So get ready for that. All right. Let's move into the next topic because we have about 20 minutes left here. So let's jump through this. What do we have next? What do I have up next here? James Mangold sees Swamp Thing as a standalone film. Did you hear about this the other day when they talked about it?
No better way to advertise a new connected universe by saying one of the first movies is a
I know. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. So let me read his quote. And then we'll talk about this. Is a quote in the article here. It says, in an interview with Variety, Mangold shed some more light on Swamp Thing, which is set to be an installment in the first chapter of the DCU Gods and Monsters. Mangold spoke about the ideas for film, saying, well, I'm sure DC views Swamp Thing as a franchise. It's not just that they view it as a franchise. It's literally been announced as part of a franchise, right? I would be viewing it as a very simple, clean Gothic horror movie about this man monster. The director also said he'd been toying for years with the idea of making kind of a Frankenstein movie. Please don't treat Swamp Thing like Frankenstein. Please don't. I want Swamp Thing to feel like Swamp Thing. It is a huge mystical storyline with a lot of stuff in it. It is not a Frankenstein movie. Please don't treat it like a Frankenstein movie. After Gunn and Saffron took control of DC Studios, Mangold put in a friendly call to suggest that the helm Swamp Thing movie, just doing my own thing, just a standalone. Don't say that. I don't have an issue with him focusing on making it as a really good, quote unquote, standalone movie, but you should not be advertising it as a standalone movie when we see what is happening to DC right now by them saying that these movies are just one-offs that don't matter. I mean,
yep.
Because here's the thing: what if they do want to make it like a 2 or 3 movie thing? Is he saying he's not going to come back and do the sequel? I guess not. I guess he's not going to. If he's making this a standalone movie, I don't want Frankenstein Swamp Thing. I want Swamp Thing to be Swamp Thing. Don't come into this franchise already trying to turn it into something else. Like. That's
the only thing that I have my concerns about with this DCU is that this whole thing about like, oh, they're going to get all these like top class directors, but still try and make a connected universe. That's not going to work.
No.
You have to get like people that are going to play the game. That will go back to Lex Luthor, not people that want to make the rules.
Yeah.
And if you get big directors,
you have to play the game.
Like it's obviously fine with James Gunn, but even then, like it was an issue with Snyder, like having a director be in charge of a universe. It's gonna be like create like that. That's the only thing that has me concerned. Could it work? Yeah, anything can work, but it's definitely on paper. It doesn't sound like it's going to work in the long term. So the only thing I can think of is that James Gunn will use big directors to establish a feel, and then move into like up and comers where they'll play. Like they'll be a cog in the function.
Yeah. So based on his quotes here, he's wanted to do a Frankenstein type movie. So he's going to use this Swamp Thing movie as his Frankenstein movie. It's going to be a one-off movie, which who knows? I will be honest. I would not be surprised if he ends up not directing this film.
Because it's one of those ones where like creative differences and he leaves.
Because he may want to do like a beginning and ending type movie with no end credit scene, no tie into anything. And that's not what that's not what James Gunn wants for DC.
Yeah, Darth, it's pretty much exactly what they tried to do with Snyder, and we saw how that blew up. And not in a good way.
Yeah. So here's the issue with what you're saying. The problem is in MCU, everything is connected. You should have some standalone films. But then you say it feels like they're setting up a Justice League Dark. I'm just going to leave that.
Yeah, 2 + 2 is 7.
I'm not even going to like get into that. Like, I'm not even going to get into that. You can't. The idea of them setting up something is completely opposite of a standalone movie, right? I mean, unless I'm living in a world where everything is backwards.
Everything is awesome.
Like, basically, BVS is a sequel to Man of Steel, right? Even though it's not a Man of Steel 2, it's still a sequel. So a Justice League Dark with Swamp Thing would essentially be a sequel to Swamp Thing if they don't do a Swamp Thing 2. I'm just saying. I don't like, look, I want him to make a great movie. I'm not a huge fan of, I mean, everybody loves Logan, I guess. I'm one of the weird people that just didn't think it was awesome, but that's fine. But James is not a bad director. I think he would do a great job in the movie if he's willing to play the game with everybody else, but I just don't see how that's going to work out. I thought this was interesting. Somebody put out a chart. I can't remember who did it. Maybe it's on the chart here. Culture Crave did this. So we're talking about like what works and what doesn't work in terms of like DC versus Marvel. And I hate to pit them together, but you know, we might as well go ahead and get into it. But this is a chart about like opening weekends for films and why they have to change what they're doing because they're just not holding up with the other company. Now, we're not arguing quality. This is not one of those things where I'm like, oh, you know, it's because it's so much better, or whatever. Clearly something that is being done, whether it be advertising, promoting, choice of projects, choice of weekends, are play into these numbers, basically. But the highest opening weekend ever for DC was Batman v Superman. Does that surprise you, Paigey, or no?
What, literally two biggest characters in DC and two of the three biggest characters in comic book media as a whole? Mm-hmm. No, it doesn't surprise me. Should have opened it more, but anyway.
Yeah. I will say this: I think it's a little unfair to compare it to Endgame. I mean, I know they're doing it number.
Yeah, you'd probably compare it to what, Black Panther?
Probably, but they're doing it strictly based on like just opening weekend numbers. So I
but I mean, if you had to pick a movie like that, you know, size wise and everything.
However, Paigey, if you'll look, just scroll all the way down to the bottom of the Marvel list. Iron Man 3 still made more in its opening weekend than BVS did. So we're talking about like
the 10th.
Yeah, the 10th Marvel movie opened better than the first DC movie. And then if you go down the list of DC, Aquaman, oddly enough, only opened with 67, but still went on to be $1 billion movie, which I think is just, it's wild to me.
Well, it made a third of what Doctor Strange made, but it made more.
People may not know this, but if you look at Aquaman, it made enough internationally to basically be to be a success. It made like 813 million internationally, right?
If you just did Aquaman's China opening, it'd be the 5th biggest DC movie. It made 98 million, I think, China opening box office.
Because this is domestic numbers, and not all movies do well on domestic numbers. So but yeah, so we have it here in like, look, Suicide Squad, not the Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad, the first one, had the 2nd biggest opening. Then we have Man of Steel. Then we have Wonder Woman, Justice League, which it's kind of a shame Justice League is so far down the list. Then we have Aquaman and Paigey's favorite movie, Black Adam, Black Adam updates with 67 million.
Okay, my favorite. Okay, thanks Eric for that one.
And then we have
Good
Flash
joke.
with 55, Shazam 1 with 53, and then Birds of Prey with 33, which like a huge jump. By the way, Birds of Prey though, that was COVID era. I'm not giving an excuse, but that's why the numbers are.
It was also R-rated. You'll notice that the
Yes.
Suicide Squad's not even on there.
Yeah, it's not. But clearly it looks like there's something being done in terms of marketing, sales, all of that stuff that is making Marvel more successful in terms of DC, and it's a connected universe. So this idea that only unconnected projects are profitable for DC is just not true. Like they are trying their best to sort of not basically copy Marvel, but compete. They're not right now. They're basically in the room next to where Marvel is, and they want to be in that same room with Marvel. And I agree. I think they should be. I think a lot of these DC movies did not get, like, for example, I think Shazam 1 is amazing. I love the first Shazam movie, but let's be fair here. It was one of those movies that wasn't promoted very big. You know what I mean? It wasn't pushed very hard. Yeah. So, and it is what it is. These numbers are staggering. But
Kenneth, that's a 134 billion. No, million. Sorry. Sorry, I was losing my mind. Yeah. 130, but that was 1978 money. Hold on.
Boba talks says, I think it's more his approach with the film. I agree. You should probably approach it with tunnel vision. Matt Reeves had a similar idea with Batman. Go on with that movie. ST would go on with the DCU though. So that's the thing, Boba, is if Swamp Thing was an Elseworlds movie, I would say go for it. Do whatever the fuck you want. Like, make it as weird and wild as you want. But the fact it's connected to the DCU, I think you still have to, like, for me, I think you should still be thinking about the bigger picture.
Superman 1978 adjusted for inflation made 1.1 billion.
Right.
So I know what its opening weekend was, but
I don't think these movies are adjusted. I think they're just what they made.
None of them released. Maybe no. I mean, like they go up like a tiny bit, not that much.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna do the last topic here. I'm gonna close that one out. All right, this is from Discussing Film, and this is from yesterday. The Flash earned $4.5 million yesterday, an 81% drop from domestic opening day, which would have been Friday night.
So that's
surprised? Yeah, are you surprised about that, or
not really? Because you don't like have a resurgence. Like the resurgence is usually like your fourth week compared to your third, not your second to your third.
Yeah, but this is 81% is bad.
It's massive.
Like really bad.
Yeah. I think this is the thing is I was reading, I think was it Variety or Hollywood Reporter? It was one of them. It was one of those two. I think it might have been Variety. They literally don't have an answer for it.
Right.
That's how confused the theater chains, the whole theater owner association, Hollywood, Warner Brothers, they actually don't have an answer as to why this specifically happened, because all the ratings from a month ago, or a month before the movie came out, I might say, not a month ago exactly, but about a month before the movie came out, completely went against, like, nothing suggested this. So it's a concern for Warner Brothers because everything leading into it, including their test screenings and stuff, their test screenings don't lie.
Right.
Like, they're pretty, so
I actually think that my initial thoughts on this are accurate. People don't have a lot of money. I think people just don't have a lot of money.
You know what will be indicated by that? Indiana Jones.
Right.
Comes out next week, or comes out this week, might I say. If that makes, I know what the projections are for that, but I'm assuming it'd be around the same amount as The Flash, at least in regards to like the week before or whatever it is. So like anywhere from like 60 to 70 or something like that. That'll be the indicator, because if that goes and makes
it says 60, they're looking at a 60 million domestic.
Okay, yeah, so 60 to 70, yeah. So I mean, if that doesn't bomb, then I don't think The Flash has any excuses.
Right. You're right. If that happens, then there's something else going on.
If that happens, then but like, I don't know. The thing is that you'll notice James Gunn has been pretty silent since it happened, because I think because now his job is much harder, because now, like, really, if you can't sell The Flash, how the fuck are you going to sell the Authority?
Not just the Flash, but Michael Keaton's Batman and Man of Steel's Zod with Supergirl.
Like, if you can't sell the Flash to audiences to go watch, how are you going to sell it to Blue Beetle? How are you going to sell Blue
How are you
Beetle?
going to sell the Authority? How are you going to sell the Authority?
Even Swamp Thing, you know, like obviously there's years until those properties come out, but at the same time, it's not like it's 10 years, it's 3 to 4 years. So how do you sell these properties if you can't sell the goddamn Flash with Michael Keaton? Like, that's very concerning.
Do you think there was an issue, like in your personal opinion, if you were looking at this completely just as a whole, what do you think because I think it's the money thing. What do you think the biggest mistake was with this movie coming into its opening?
It's not a money thing because Spider-Verse is still having people go see it.
Okay, so if it's not a money thing, what would
out.
you say that? What do you think it is? I'm just curious what you.
I think it's just a disconnect between it. I think it's just like, also you don't. If people haven't seen Shazam, they didn't go see Black Adam, they didn't go see the Suicide Squad, they didn't go see Birds of Prey. They're not connected to this storyline. They must assume like it's DC, so it's a part of the universe. I haven't watched the previous 4 to 5 movies that have come out, so why would I randomly jump into this one? Mm-hmm. Especially when there's so much going on, it makes you feel like there's a movie that sets this up, or it's a part of a larger story. You're seeing all Michael Keaton's Batman randomly returning.
Word of mouth heard it from the weekend? Do you think word of mouth heard it?
I think word of mouth nowadays is a bit. Social media is too big where I don't think word of mouth really matters too much.
Okay.
I personally don't think it matters too much. Unless the word of mouth is a kid going, "Mum, can we go to the movies?" And then there's an extra ticket because the mum took the kid to go see the movie.
Yeah, Gwendolyn, I think this might have a bigger impact than we projected because I think a lot of people decided not to go because of this.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Do you think they're sitting there? Do you think, David Zaslav couldn't have done it because he wasn't a part of Warner Brothers at the time. But do you think Andy Muschietti, despite their love for Ezra, whatever it is, do you think Andy Muschietti, Barbara Muschietti, anyone associated with the film, actually pretty much everyone that was associated with the film doesn't work for Warner Brothers anymore, but at least the ones that are still there are probably going like, fuck. Yeah. Should have probably just recast, Like,
my question is, do you think he's going to still be on for Brave and the Bold? Do you think they're still going to move forward?
I think because the thing is, I think the movie's still a really damn good movie. I love the movie.
Okay.
So I don't think it's an issue with the actual movie itself, but I think it's something that needs to be questioned about the DC brand as a whole because, I mean, how many flops is in a row now?
4? 4? Yeah, 4.
No, more.
5 because of Suicide Squad. Yeah, it would have been 5.
Well, technically it's 6, isn't it? It's Birds of Prey.
Wonder Woman 84. Wonder Woman 84.
Wonder Woman. They lost money on the Snyder Cut, so do you count that?
Maybe.
I know we won't include it. We won't include it because we're streaming, but like lost money on that. So like what? Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman, The Suicide Squad, Black Adam, Shazam, Flash. 6. Blue Beetle could be a flop. That's 7. Aquaman, I think, is a guaranteed flop because it's had the reshoots, and I don't know. Actually, I don't want to say Aquaman's a guaranteed flop, but I don't know. There's just so much issues with that movie. That comes out and gets a 20% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Based off all the, like, you're approaching 10 flops in a row. No cinematic universe would ever continue under those circumstances.
No.
After 3, it wouldn't.
Right.
Let alone borderline 10.
Yeah. Bobby here says the thing about the word of mouth is the Flash and Warner Brothers let tons of fans. That's another thing. I think it's I think there's a combination of issues that probably led to the problems with this movie. I will continue to say that I think they let too many people see it early. Too many diehard fans go see it early. I think that was a big problem.
That's the thing, Darth. If Wonder Woman came out in theaters normally, it wouldn't have been a flop. But because they rushed it out, they made it that first. It was like the first of those HBO Max movies, wasn't it?
You know, people are quick to say stuff about normies, but these movies don't survive without normies. That's the reality.
You need the normies. You need the normies.
And I hate using that term, but that's a term that everybody uses. You need the general audiences, the casual audience that isn't necessarily diehard comic book fans to spend money on these movies.
Oh, God. Jay, did you have to write that? Did you have to write that in the chat, Jay? Do we have to have that headache again?
Oh, right here. Warner Brothers should have changed.
Please, Jay, I need you to back up what you're saying in the chat. If you are saying legitimately that they should release a 4-hour film in the theaters, I need you to actually.
Or is he
I
talking
need you to
about
clarify.
the original 2-movie thing where it would have been like 2 hours and 2 hours or something like that? But so
I think everyone knows. Eric, you know what the answer is. What should have
Yeah.
happened in 2016 when they were about to film Justice League?
like after they found out all the stuff, or no?
No,
Like,
after Batman v Superman came out, what should they have done?
just had another director come on.
Boom.
personally.
There you go. Delay the movie for 3 months. Let the director come on. Let them do pre-production.
Yeah.
That is exactly what Jay said, Simulator. Otherwise, I don't know what Jay was saying.
I know a lot of people were saying no much about Ezra, but the Ezra stuff was all over TMZ and Daily Mail. So here's the deal, though. I will say this. Before the movie came out, because I had people asking me so often about what Ezra did, I did an Ezra timeline video, right? And it was set up for people that were searching for
And
Ezra.
you did the reenactments and everything, yeah.
I did. People were searching for Ezra or whatever. Nobody was watching that video, which tells me that didn't seem like it was a factor to me that people cared about what.
It was a big thing. There were like larger channels that normally wouldn't talk about anything DC related, talking about the Ezra Miller situation.
Were there?
I did.
Well, then maybe
I did
just
see that
happened.
on Twitter.
All right. So continuing this though, here, this is what the Flash has made in a week and a couple of days now.
Yeah.
Internationally or total sales worldwide. 176. This movie is not even going to make its basic budget back.
No. It's what? It would have needed like 650 minimum, I think, to break even.
Yeah.
About that. Maybe 600 if we want to be lenient.
But I mean, what I'm saying here is it's not even going to make the 200 million probably that it was set up to make.
Yeah. That's right, Dudson. Green Lantern was a flop. And they canceled the DC, that cinematic universe was going to be built off it straight away. They went, we fucked it. Let's move on.
Yeah. I mean, this, I tried to be as positive as I could each time we talked about this, but in my last video, you guys know I said it. This movie is a flop. It is like probably one of the biggest failures. And here's the thing, the takeaway from this is not going to be all the other issues. You know what the takeaway is going to be? That less than Black Adam. Black Adam made like 400 and some
450,
million.
isn't it?
Yeah. This movie, and it costs less to make. I'm guarantee you. The takeaway from this is going to be the Flash doesn't sell tickets.
Yeah, it's not. That bit of worry is that the Flash to me is probably already the third or fourth most popular DC character anyway, in regards to a hero. Because I'm not including like Joker and stuff like that. So you have your Batman, you have your Superman. And then it's really a battle between Wonder Woman and Flash.
Most of these movies weren't that bad. That's the thing. Most of them weren't that bad. I mean, Black Adam wasn't amazing. It was mid. I think it probably should have made a little bit more, but it wasn't going to be $1 billion movie. I think Shazam 2 was pretty solid. And I think The Flash was a fun movie. Like I said, when I was there, people laughed more at this movie. I
saw someone say Marvel's a crowd pleaser, DC isn't. If the Flash isn't a crowd pleaser, I don't know what is. Like the Flash is like was made to be a crowd pleaser, so I don't know like how that's like I don't know how. I wonder if they're just going to ignore it. I'm assuming they're just going to ignore it and move on.
Yeah,
but like I don't know. Like it's going to be interesting because I'm assuming at like a shareholders meeting they have to address it. That they had this movie that cost so much.
I said Black Adam made like 400. You said 450. Somebody's saying it's 393. I thought it was closer to 400 or something.
I thought it was. Like, what am I thinking of then? I feel like as a movie that's 450. But
either way, it doesn't matter. It's making more than this. That's the point. This movie is flopping. Like it is absolutely floundering. I don't
use as many FLs. Floundering.
I don't think like more flipping, flossing. I don't think bad CGI is enough to completely destroy a movie.
The amount of people that have said we've revisited, but the people that are only saying, "Oh, the movie sucks because of bad CGI," you can just say you didn't want to watch the movie because of Ezra Miller.
Right, just say it.
You can just say that.
I have not judged. If I don't judge anyone. If you don't want to watch the movie because you don't like Ezra, fine. I'm not going to
just say that. I'd rather people say that than try and pick something out that's like a minor thing in the film. Like it gets to that point where just say that. Like I'm
I
fine
mean,
with that, and I'm fine with
okay,
that thought process.
I'm going to put this out there. I love the first Black Panther movie, but the Black Panther CGI was really bad in that first movie.
Well, at
It
least in
was
the
bad.
third act. In the third act, it's
Yeah.
very bad.
So
The rest
if
of it's
you're
not
willing
too
to
bad.
overlook that because the movie was good and you enjoyed it, then you can do it on other movies.
And also,
that
you
seems
watch
like an excuse
it's
to me.
like, I mean, really, you go into a movie to like just escape reality anyway. Like you're really gonna go, well, hold on, that doesn't look too realistic.
I'm
Like,
gonna
fair
do
enough, your point,
something.
that should be better, but at the same
I'm
time,
gonna just check. We did this before. I'm gonna check my local theater and see what the ticket sales are for tonight for the Flash. I'm just curious.
oh fuck, it'd be if they made what was it? What was that number? Was it 4? Was it 4 million? Or was,
4.5 million in last
mate,
night.
you'd be lucky if there's 3 people in your theater, Eric.
I'm just curious. I just want to look.
I'll have a look. It's a Sunday. It's a Sunday. People go to the movies a lot on a Sunday where I am. Let me have a look and see how many people are going to see The Flash. I can tell you, Indiana Jones isn't even out yet, and they've already removed The Flash. There's only 5 sessions today.
Oh my god! They canceled the Flash 9:00 showing.
Yeah. Well, as I said, there's only 5 sessions today, and there's no big movie out. The big movie is The Flash.
They canceled it.
How do I do this? Get a ticket. How many people have... Here we go. Actually, to be fair, there's actually a few seats, quite a few. There's about 15 seats in the theater taken.
Maybe it'll do better tonight. Maybe it'll hit double digits tonight.
But it is a Sunday. But a lot of people go to the movies here in Australia on a Sunday.
I'm going to predict that we might see 8 to 10 million tonight, which would put this in like the 180, 190, probably worldwide. If that's the case.
If it makes 250 worldwide, it'd be a miracle, because I just don't think if it's only getting 4 people in a theater per session, like just they're not going to hold it. Like especially when Indiana Jones comes in and then you start getting like Mission Impossible comes out in like 2 weeks. Yeah. And then after that, you have Barbie and Oppenheimer. Like, it'll be gone. It'd be lucky if it gets 250.
And then
I mean, honestly, I'm not going to fucking lie. It'd be lucky.
And then
if
we
it's
have
225.
Dune shortly after that, right? Is it Dune the next big?
No, Dune's at the end of the year.
Is it? Okay.
Towards the,
Fatman Plays said a movie doing half bad if screening gets canceled. I know, because they probably decided it was so that screening was canceled, but then they had I saw there was another screening of Across the Spider-Verse, which means they probably just put Across the Spider-Verse in another.
Like no tickets sold for the 9 o'clock session and stuff like that.
So here's the thing, Emmanuel. I don't disagree with you. I think that Michael Jordan, Chadwick Boseman is amazing, but that's what I'm saying. Like in this movie, even if you don't like Ezra, Michael Keaton is great in this film. And I think a lot of people that would go see this would agree with that Michael Keaton was one of the best parts of the film. Poor Sasha Calle, I don't think she got half the stuff that she filmed put in the movie, but Michael Keaton definitely had a ton. All right, before we wrap this up, though, I want to take a quick look here. Speaking of Across the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse jumps back at #1 at the box office. This is from this week. Are you surprised by this at all?
But wasn't that for like one specific day?
I think it was like Thursday, right?
Yeah, because I was going to say that new comedy movie. Yeah, I think it's meant to be #1 at the box office.
I'm curious to see this weekend if this holds.
I don't think it will, because it would have to make. Oh wait, it might though, because I think that was. It'd be close. I think it might be close to that new movie that's coming out. That's just an R-rated comedy. That Jennifer Lawrence R-rated comedy movie that's coming out.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
But I think it's going to be close, because I think they're saying. I think
so it was #1. So the numbers did come in. It was the #1 on Friday as well. So.
Oh, okay. So it will be okay. That was the thing, because I think it was based off the estimates for that. But then again, it's an R-rated comedy, so it's
yeah. But here's the thing: this movie is already at 512 world. This is a massive success for this team behind this.
I thought it was funny that like I think it was the day that maybe it was the day that instead of went back to #1, all that like drama about the movie came out at the same time. I thought it was weird how they tried to make it almost like a hit piece on. I think it was Phil Lord. I don't think it was Chris Miller. I think it was Phil Lord. They tried to make it sound like he was overworking his employees.
Animation stuff, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and it was like pushing it.
Look, the reality is that if it's not being worked on right now, I don't believe it'll come out next year.
But we said it. I think we said it when we were talking about this movie. You won't see movies like this again because it's just too much. It's not worth a lot of studios' time to do it, unless it's like a passion project. But
I actually think we won't see the sequel for the Beyond the Spider-Verse for another 2 years.
Yeah, when I saw that it was like next year, I was like, bullshit, it's going to come out next year. Right. As soon as, and I think I saw someone say like, oh, they hadn't even done anything with it. It's like, okay, that's definitely not. Be lucky if it comes out in 2025.
Yeah. Anyway, if you want to go see our reactions to the Craven trailer, you can do that on Twitch. That's on this week's stream. We looked at the
I
Craven
can
trailer.
confirm nothing.
Yeah. All right, before we go, just want to remind everyone, next week we'll have the After Party 6.5, the final after party of this season of after parties. And then we're going to take a break for the week after. During that break, there will be another stream in place of the after party, but it'll be something else. I'm not sure what it is yet. I'll come up with something. Maybe we'll dive into. Yeah.
Before we finish, Eric, what were your thoughts on the submarine? Everyone's wondering.
I didn't really have much about it, honestly. I thought it was people were just latched onto something because it was what was in the news cycle. I would. Are you asking me would I go down in that submarine? The answer is hell no.
I'm asking just general thoughts and like.
No.
Yeah. Okay, I have to ask you, Eric. Okay, also, you might be exposing yourself. You might get cancelled. Did you laugh at any of the memes?
No.
Didn't find it funny?
No.
The only one I found funny, what is it? It was like, I am under the water, help.
I
that was the only one I found funny. But I must say, I feel good that what happened in regards to the fact that they went out quickly. It would have been horrible if they were down there because it would have been pitch black as shit. It would have been the scariest thing ever. It's actually good that because they were always going to die. That was the thing. As soon as they were down there, they were gone. They were never going to get saved.
I don't think people made that very clear. The media kept trying to give hope, but a lot of the actual people who do it for a living were like, yeah, there's no way
it would have been a borderline miracle, and they would have had to be in like the perfect spot where they could have there was any sign that they could have gotten saved.
Right.
But then again, it would have been this massive mission where they would have run out of oxygen anyway. It would have taken them a week or something to save them.
Well, I think they said that the only possible way that they could have ever even saved them is if they just happened to be stuck somewhere. They could get the like move it out of wherever it's stuck. But that was such a I think they said that a lot of people that did this for a living said there are only two scenarios. One of them is that it did not make the descent and it imploded like very quickly, which is what happened. The other one was that they got down there and they were either something broke or something went wrong. And they're like, but either way, most people who are involved in this whole rescue mission said there's literally no way to save them.
Yeah.
There's just no way to do it.
And I just want to say it was a kid dying is still, 5 people died. It wasn't just one person died. 5 people died. I thought that people that were saying on Twitter, oh, they're billionaires, so they deserve to die. I'm like,
go on YouTube. There's actually a couple of guys that were supposed to initially be on it that decided to back out.
I saw that interview, and you can tell. And the saddest thing with that kid is that he didn't even want to go. He went because his dad wanted to go.
Right.
His dad coerced him. Was like, oh, come on, it's Father's Day. Let's go. And his kid was like super scared, but still went along with it.
I also thought it was funny that the news outlets were trying to like shade James Cameron, because if anybody knows about this, like from an outsider perspective, that doesn't do it like professionally, is James Cameron. This person is like an expert in that regard.
And he's been into the Mariana Trench, which is even deeper. It's much deeper. Yeah. Always follow your gut. Follow your gut.
Actually, Ben 10, apparently that particular controller is used a lot for these like submersibles. Apparently, I didn't know that, but apparently it is.
Yeah. The Amazon reviews are pretty crazy.
Yeah. Look, Darth Zen right here. The lesson from this: don't half-ass underwear. Look, just don't do it. Like, let a submersible go down there. I'm not trying to I know there's people like do risk-taking stuff. I'm not one of them. So if you want to, if I want to see it, I'm totally good. Like if you want to see the Titanic, there's thousands of videos on YouTube.
Disney Plus, you can watch the James Cameron documentary on it.
Yeah, pretty much.
On Disney Plus.
But anyway, so we will be heading out. I will see everyone later. You can watch some playback if you missed everything. And yeah, we'll see everyone. Take care. Bye.